I'm John Hamilton. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm probably the most involved in education of all the candidates. I was trained as a primary school teacher. I've worked as a nursery teacher and secondary teacher. I was very involved. I became secretary of the New School for New Cross campaign, and I slept on the roof of Lewisham Bridge School to stop Bullock knocking it down. And we succeeded in that. And we succeeded in getting a new secondary school, but it wasn't ideal. And I've lived much of my life in Lewisham. I moved here in 1958. I moved away as a student, and I've been back here for about 20 years. I also think we have to look at preschool education, and I fought to keep the under-5 play cards free of charge, and I'm one of the parents that was involved in keeping the Telegraph Hill one open when Damien's lot decided to cut all the funding and close them down. I think we need a change from Labour. We need real policies for the people and not for the corporations. I don't think the primary side has been very good. There was a year, probably about 7 or 8 years ago now, and I may have got the dates wrong, when there were 543 children on September the 6th, or whatever it was, that didn't have a primary place. Now, they haven't all just moved to the borough that summer holidays. It's really been pretty abysmal in Lewisham. And so we had bulge classes, and that makes problems for schools because you've got 60 in one year and 30 in every other year. And I mean, it's been crisis management in Lewisham's primaries. My local primary, one of my local primaries, Edmund Waller, parents came to me, how can you help us? Because, no, people before profit, the problem solvers in Lewisham, the people get things done. And, oh, it's true, people come to us about problems. And they said, we've heard a rumour that our school's going to be increased to 4 forms. We don't want this. It's a rumour. And it wasn't just a rumour, there were plans for that. Parents are not kept informed, and they were not at all happy about that. That was coming from the education. One of the biggest problems for parent involvement, and of course we can have PTAs and parent governors, but one of the problems in the north of the borough, in Evelyn Ward in particular, one of the poorest wards in the country, is that children are having to travel a long way to find a school place. And if the children are having to travel a long way, then the parents will have to travel a long way to be involved in any meetings that are happening at PTAs, and we tend to get less participation from those poorer areas, often some of the children we need to help most, often from immigrant families or second generation in the north of the borough. And so really the problem comes down to the fact that Lewisham has not built enough secondary schools within the borough to serve its own pupils. And that's been a problem we tried to address with the New School campaign. It was barely touched on by the opening of Lewisham Bridge School, or whatever it's called now.
Parent voicing comes up so much across our borough, and I think that the buck does stop with the council. The council has to make sure that schools are providing and can demonstrate how are you making sure parents have voice. Because it comes up too much, and there's lots of good practice in schools, but there's too many schools who are not doing it. And often it's not just with the parents who are engaged, that's fantastic, it's also reaching out and helping build the capacity of parents who might have a lot to say, might have a lot to contribute, but don't always feel confident enough to do that. So I think there is a lot of work to do, but I do think tonight shows is that many of us, we're on the same wavelength, like we know what the issues are, and lots of the answers are in the room. And I think, a review of this secondary challenge, we can, and we will, have better results for our young people in the future.
I agree with some of these very good points that other candidates have made, but I have a radical proposal as well. Sometimes, when I started teaching in primary schools, it's a very communal activity between all the teachers and the head. The head often taught in schools I worked in Nottingham, and nowadays, in the last 20 years I suppose, in secondary schools in particular, it's managing. Heads are not even called heads in some schools, are they? They're called chief executive officers. I don't think we should be having chief executive officers of schools. I don't think they should have a finance advisor, because some of these schools are trying to make money. That's what academies are really about. Chains of businesses to make money out of education. They get the money from the government for each pupil that goes there. And I don't think that engenders the right relationship between the people on the chalkboard and the people up the top with big salaries. Our policy in the time of austerity, and it would be good anyway, then as if anyone were at the spirit level, is that nobody should get more than 3 times the average pay in Lewisham. Nobody, and that includes head teachers, should be paid more than about £84,000. There's still a lot of money. Some are getting a lot more than that. And nobody in the council should get paid that more than that either.
Okay, thank you.
We do have to look at the past a little bit, because when Frankie Salchi was the head of education and young people, she was a bully. She did not know how to talk to teachers and head teachers. Poor Bullock couldn't bear to be in the same room as her for a while, for several years, and she didn't do education in Lewisham any good service whatsoever. And the problem was that Katie Donnelly, who was cabinet member for young people at the time, didn't control Frankie Salchi. Nobody could control Frankie Salchi. The cabinet member, if we've got a cabinet system, needs to be able to control the officer who is in charge of that department or directorate as it's called these days. Thank you. I'd actually like to see people educated for life and not always having to meet targets, because that puts pressure on the teachers to only teach according to the exams. I was a teacher in a secondary school when the national curriculum came in, and I couldn't believe that teachers let it happen. Because we all know, teachers amongst us know, that it hasn't been good for an all-round education. Things like music and drama, art, generally get dropped because they're not core subjects. And we had tweaks to the national curriculum and so on. But I'd like to see teachers given much more freedom to teach, as we used to be in primary schools still, even after we weren't in secondary. And I think that will lead to a better all-round. Put the teachers and the heads in control of their schools. But also, I think the thing about only having 40%, well, only enough schools for about 40% of the children here, is the policy of Steve Bullock and Frankie Salchi has been to have schools without sixth forms generally. And I don't think that attracts the right teachers who are really keen on their subjects, because you want to be able to teach A-level as well as the lower subjects. Look at Asks or Prendergast. They have sixth forms. They're very popular. Well, I'm going to manage to roll both questions into one, 6 and 7, because if we look at Drumbeat, the special educational needs secondary school in the borough, built by PFI, they're not allowed to put pictures on the walls. PFI and the scrapping of those contracts is the way we get the money for this borough to deal with the things it needs to deal with. I already promised, as the candidates know, to tear up the PFI contracts that Lewisham engaged if I become mayor. I will not accept that we should be paying money to bankers, just as People Before Profit and the Pensioners Forum and Keep Our NHS Public started the Lewisham Hospital campaign, which was all about Labour's PFI, Gordon Brown's and Tony Blair's PFI. I know I'm pretty sure Damien doesn't support those, but we have to get rid of them. It's like loan sharking. You've paid that money several times over. We need to get it tested in the courts. Corbyn's too weak to say he will throw it out the window. We need to test it here in Lewisham. And it's not really true to say that we can't do anything, John Coughlin, to get more money, because apart from the PFI, we could protest vigorously about the spending cuts that the Tory government are putting through. If I am mayor, there will be changes in this borough with the way we deal with national government and with PFI. And I hope you'll find that there'll be positive ones.
I'm standing for Lewisham People Before Profit as mayor, as you know. If you have any understanding of what's gone on in the last 10 years since we formed, you'll know we've been a real opposition to Labour. We do things between elections as well, unlike many parties. We are not standing in the council elections because, to be honest, it's a farce. We don't have proportional representation. It's extremely difficult because so many people have been turned off voting in local elections for any party other than a vast party like the Labour Party to win seats on the council. So I hope that if you really want a change, and if you really want a socialist change, you'll vote for me, for putting people before profit, because we know that the Labour Party has failed on that front. It is only interested, or has been, in helping the big corporations put up big tower blocks, outsourcing public services, and so have a look at the card that I've got here. Help us get rid of the mayoral system by getting signatures on the Bring Back Democracy petition so that we can end this mayoral system in the next 4 years. Thank you very much.
Okay.